We acknowledge and respect the first humans of the unceded land we call San Francisco, the Ramaytush Ohlone. We condemn the genocide of these and other tribes across the Western Hemisphere. We honor their legacy and history, and we support rematriation and sovereignty efforts. Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Hunt. This is Storied San Francisco, a podcast all about the people and places that make this city unique. This one happens to be our second episode in a row about a business getting ready to open soon, although that's not entirely true for Dontaye Ball and Gumbo Social. It's existed as a pop-up for several years now, but late last year, Dontaye secured a brick-and-mortar space on 3rd Street in the Bayview and will be opening the doors and his heart to the world this spring. Dontaye doesn't just make gumbo. For those of you who haven't had the fortune of trying it, his food stands for something. For Dontaye, gumbo is this country's national food. Here's Dontaye.
I used to tell myself, I'm like, I'm not going to open a restaurant. I've done this before, and I'm good. Not going to happen.
Okay, you have opened a restaurant before.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we can talk about that now, or we can get to it later in the podcast. But
open places, I've been part of opening teams, multiple businesses, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that again.
It's a lot.
It is.
Scary?
But no, I'm not afraid of anything anymore.
All right.
Lot is an undertaking. It really is. Sleep you lose, but it's I'm trying to build something that's bigger than a restaurant, so that's where the pressure's at.
Would you call it a movement?
That's a good question.
Yeah, what would you call what you're trying to do?
Yeah, I'm trying to alert people that gumbo should be America's national dish. Yeah,
that's all.
That's my life's work.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, the things we think of as American food, they are, but they've been so commodified and boiled down. So it's like...
My question is, do you know what America's national dish is?
Well, is it a trick question?
No, it's a real question. Most people don't know this.
There's so many foods that come from the South.
Think the biggest chain, one of the biggest chains in the world, and what they make.
It's not a hamburger.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So my goal
That was a trick question.
So my life's work is to replace that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fuck a burger, man. I love it. Can I cuss on this thing?
Please do.
I love to cuss.
Yeah. Bitch talk is out there.
There we go.
Like, hold my beer.
Burgers they've reinvented themselves in the last 3 years with smash burgers and different techniques, and Shake Shack's done a great job. Shout out to Danny Meyer, who's a legend in hospitality. He essentially wrote the modern book on how to make money in hospitality. So Danny Meyer's a really good example, but that's great. But
I like Super Duper around here too.
Super Duper's great. Yeah, those are the Beretta folks, man. And I know one of the owners there. We used to work at Delphina together many years ago.
Okay.
So they've done a good job. But there's nothing, in my eyes, there's nothing more fulfilling than a really good bowl of gumbo.
I'll add to that, if I may, that burgers are great. I won't kick a burger out of bed, but they don't have a story like gumbo has a story.
Agreed.
Well, I think another thing, and I don't know if you disagree, but gumbo, I don't think, can lend itself to fast food. It's kind of the point of gumbo that it takes a little bit of time. It takes a lot of love to make.
And so a part of my journey is going to be, how do we take the Gumbo Social concept and make it a franchisable model?
Right.
I want our product to be accessible through the Bay Area and in California one day. And so I'm really on a journey to not only make gumbo America's national dish, but how do I take this brand of the gumbo component, which is the heart and soul, and then the social piece, which is, it's what, like Christmas is a perfect example. This is why people come to my house. They come for the gumbo, but they really come just to talk.
Yeah, to be with They're people. Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
So,
Do you want to talk about your crew?
yeah.
I mean, I know for me, going out to Sunset Mercantile and seeing y'all, that was kind of a big part of it. I don't know how much you talked about them on live already, but I want to hear a little bit about your crew.
Yeah. We'll start from the top. It's a lot of people to think about, but
This is like your Oscar speech.
yeah.
Who are you gonna thank?
Let's see. It's hard not to thank Dontaye Jr. and Ziante first, because I tell you, those, my sons, those young men, they work really hard. They've never complained once about what I'm doing, how we're doing it, and what the vision is. And so that's really important, because I didn't really have that growing up. And so it's amazing to be doing it with them and giving them a format and opportunity to get a taste of what they do like and what they don't like. Mm-hmm. So they've been, I don't say they work here, they're owners. Mm-hmm. They've been a part of ownership since they were in the 8th grade. Wow. And so they've built up, in my opinion, they've built up a passion for food and the farmers market. They've always grown up around farmers markets. Okay. And so they've built an appreciation for culinary, good food, service. They've made mistakes, and they've been able to have the luxury of me there to correct them as their father, and also as the leader of the company. I'm not a big fan of the word boss, I think.
Mentor?
Yeah. They are the ones who, they give me the energy. Like, there's days where, like, the alarm clock goes off at 5:30. I'm like, fuck this. I am not doing the farmer's market. You guys can find somewhere else to get gumbo at, 'cause I don't care.
Well, I was just about to ask, you mentioned, like, they learn stuff from you. You must learn from them as well.
Oh, yeah. Ziante created the original Gumbo Social logo.
Okay.
Yeah. When he was, like, in the 6th grade.
Nice.
That's him. I've learned, they pushed me to do the social media stuff. What's crazy is they barely interact on social media now, but they've pushed me to be up on stuff. The young people, they know what's going on, so I mess with them. Yeah. So D&Z, the best. I couldn't have better kids in the world.
I think I met them that day that I was out at Sunset.
Yeah, you probably
great.
did. Yeah, great. See, Dontaye Jr. is the gumbo man, so that's his station. He loves the gumbo. He's very big on the consistency, amount of the ratio of chicken and sausage, and the perfect scoop of rice. And he's just a constant on his what he is there to do, which is great. Ziante, he's all purpose. He's just everywhere. He's someone that's overly visual and like, hey, like, we should do this and we should do that, and here's an idea for this. So that's his lane. My sister Jasmine, who is really a catch-all, someone whose opinion I listen to and respect highly, because when I need something, she's there.
She one of those people that just knows.
Yeah, she knows. That's my Irish twin, so she knows me probably better than anyone else. Yeah. And so she's saying something. As her brother, I tend to want to not agree, but then I always have to kind of be a good active listener and say, if she's saying something that means something, so let me take a step back and be a good leader and listen. Right. My other sister, Ty, who does a lot of the production, a lot of the behind-the-scenes work, and helping produce the end goal, the breakfast sandwich and the this and the that. She's very on top of that.
Are your parents from SF as well, or where are they from?
Yeah, so my mom is from Mississippi. My dad is from Oklahoma. Or Louisiana. I don't know where he's from, to be honest.
That part of the world.
He won't be honest. He's like, one day is Louisiana, the other day is Arkansas. I'm like, bro, I need to know. I need to know where you're from. Yeah. And my mom, I think they migrated here from the South.
Together?
No.
Separately.
Separately. And they landed in Daly City. My great grandmother had brought a house in Daly City, but my grandmother landed in Fillmore.
Okay, like back when it was the Fillmore.
Yeah, back when it was the Fillmore.
Yep.
The gentrification already took hold, right? It had already started at that point.
Don't you mean redevelopment, Dontaye?
Yeah, well, we can go into the story of the redevelopment
Let's do
agency.
it. Let's do it. It's been on this podcast a little bit.
I'm not the person to talk about that, but it has affected the community. You know, the Fillmore is still trying to, I won't necessarily say reinvent itself, but you know, it used to be the Harlem of the West.
Yeah.
It looks very different today, and I'm interested and curious. I'm here to see what it looks like tomorrow.
So your grandma was there as it was being gentrified, or?
Yeah, grandma was there, you know.
So it is part of your family history. It's maybe not your direct story, but it's in your family.
Yeah, definitely. You know, my mom would tell stories about, you know, the Boom Boom Room and, you know, them trying to sneak in there and the jazz clubs and stuff like that. And, you know, when they moved to Desert City, they always kind of kept that connection with the Fillmore because of the church. Mm-hmm. And so my grandmother was big on church from the South. So we going to church.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yep. That's a given.
Yeah. And that's what kept the connection. And when she passed last year, you know, that was one of the things I thought about, them talking about rent parties. And that's something that used to happen in Harlem. People would throw a rent party. Mm-hmm. Someone would make a big bowl of gumbo or whatever you can think of. Mm-hmm. $5. Mm-hmm. You have a party at your house, and that was a rent party. Mm-hmm. You know, you're trying to pay that rent.
Yep.
And so, you know, fried chicken, whatever it is. You know, my grandmother she is one of the reasons why I decided to become a chef, an entrepreneur. She really, you know, was the person that, her and my mom, really the people that, like, hey, you like being in the kitchen? Here's this. You know, I made my first apron with my grandmother.
Nice. Did your grandma cook at home and maybe for like church or something? Or did she have a business? You said entrepreneur, but.
Yeah. So my grandmother was a hustler, man. So she used to do a house cleaning service for a Jewish family. Okay. The Stories back in the day. And they were great people.
Yeah. Here in San Francisco?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah. It's part of how I come to understand like Jewish cultures. Mm-hmm. Culture and community is based off of our relationship with them. Mm-hmm. And so they would always like partake in, you know, some of our holidays as well. So it was just like total love. But she would sell cakes and pies. She was a great chef. Back in the day, you know, Friday night was family day, right? Mm-hmm. People would come over, hang out. It was entertainment. It was a good time.
Social. It was social.
Right? Yeah. Amazing.
Even if you didn't know that word, that's what it was. I mean, yeah. It
was good stuff. So I just remember those as really, you know, young memories, but great memories of just having a lot of people over. My grandmother was a great host. And I learned, you know, the acts of service from her, it being a part of, you know, our family's DNA to serve people. You know, that's a good thing. Mm-hmm. It's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. Mm-hmm. It's an honor to be able to serve people. Mm-hmm. And so when people come, I always hope that when people come to Gumbo Social, I hope they get some of that service piece. I don't preach a high level of service for money. It's because it's been instilled in me from, you know, my grandmother, from my time working in Delphina, again, forwarding that thought of service and how important that is. I remember the first time we ate there, I watched 3 servers like run to the front door just to tell someone, thank you, have a good night.
Wow. This is the Delphina, the original on 18th Street?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I did my externship at when I was coming up as a young culinarian.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I worked there. I did my externship there. And from there, I went to, I helped open the first pizzeria next door. Mm-hmm. And then from there, I did Google and some other places. But the service and the food, obviously, but the service is always the thing that resonated with me. As chefs, like we typically care about the food.
Right.
It's when you step over the other threshold of service and experience of the guest, that's how Craig and Annie and Delphina, that's how they've been able to stay successful, but stay a cut above, because it's always the service.
I will always remember the first time as a young adult that I noticed service. Like, I already kind of appreciated eating and food, but how service, like, so there's, decor or design, whatever you want to call it. There's the food, but how service can just take it over the top and like make you feel special.
Yeah.
And it's part of the whole experience. It can be part of the whole experience, and it can enrich it. Yeah. And I feel like once I noticed that, it kind of spoiled me to where I'd be looking for it, and you just got to take it where you can find it.
Yeah. Good service is like a relationship. Mm-hmm. So, if you're a habitual dater, like many of my millennial friends, you're always looking for your next, like, oh my God, that was amazing. Mm-hmm. And that's service. Mm-hmm. Like when you're treated really well, it feels good. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing like it.
This is cool because I'm not aware of any other current or former Delfina employees that we've had on this podcast. I've known some folks, and through my family, I kind of know Craig and Annie. But hearing that about that place, I always knew it was special. But like hearing that is really cool.
Yeah, I always reference that opportunity because I think it set the foundation for me as a human.
Right. It's not just in the restaurant.
No,
it's a way of life.
Yeah, it goes. I could probably talk an hour about how deep it goes, from the empathy that Annie has shown people when she needed to release someone or someone needed to move on, to how they went inside the organization to say, oh, you do websites, great, let's do ours with you. How they've taken someone like Anthony Strong and say, great, here's a pizzeria, here's an opportunity, build it up. And, that launched his career to do what he's doing now. And there's so many other, like, growing up there, like 19, 20, 21 years old.
Is that how young you were when you were there? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cool.
To see, like, to be held to a standard and to be treated as family, I will probably say it changed my mindset around how I treat my team. And then, like, Christmas comes around, they're a Jewish family. So we're talking about, we would get tipped out every month from the servers. So that shared idea of, like, we're all in this together to, chefs like, hey, I know you're interested in X, Y, and Z. Here's 2 cookbooks or a book that will help you grow. And the mantra was always, hey, I want you to leave here, be successful, and come back one day.
Okay.
And it was never about just them. It was always about the staff, the community. Yeah. So I take a lot of that in as, like, that was good. That was good mentoring very early.
Totally.
I needed that.
Something that occurred to me as you're describing that, and tell me if you think this fits with how they run things. A lot of the recent episodes we've been doing on 3 different co-ops in town, Other Avenues, Arismendi Bakery, and Rainbow Grocery. And one of the themes is, like, well, Rainbow is so much bigger than both of those other 2. Like, they have 200 employees versus like 20 at the others. Right. But at all 3 places, and this is probably pretty true at most or all co-ops, and some places perhaps like Delfina, where everyone knows exactly why they're doing what they're doing because they have ownership in it. Like, they might have been part of the decision making. Or, like you're saying, it might have been almost like a mentor type of program of, like, here's something you want to do, and here's some help getting to that point. Yeah. And the thing I love about all of this that we're talking about is that it's human. It's humans working together and treating each other with respect and and providing space for us all to grow and be better. Yeah. And I love it. Yeah. It's love. It comes back to love.
It's all about opportunity. That's, that's one of the things I preach, or at least I try to preach. It's like a lot of folks at Gumbo Social have gotten really good opportunities to do the things they want to do.
So you mentioned sort of how your ancestors came to be in San Francisco. Let's hear about you. And if I'm doing the math right, you were born in the early 80s?
Early 80s, yeah.
Okay, do you remember the 80s in San Francisco at all?
I don't, but I've seen pictures.
Okay.
I've seen the chaos and the riots and, It was an interesting time in the country in 1983. 1987 and 1989, interesting times as well. A recession that people don't remember. Ronald Reagan, drugs, Oakland, all these things. I remember the 1989 earthquake. We lived here on 3rd and Oakdale.
Okay.
I remember that.
What were you doing that day?
I was like just chilling at the house. I was 5.
You weren't watching the World Series?
No.
Sorry.
But we
It might have been on somewhere.
Yeah, my uncle, my dad's brother was a big baseball guy.
Yeah.
And he when he passed, I didn't see a Giants game like at Candlestick until I got a little bit older.
Okay.
Because he would take us. We would go to night games, and he would talk about cold.
Oh yeah. You said dress warm. I'm like, this is nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a great AT&T Park story.
Let's hear it.
Me and my old business partner, we were running a concessions company. We used to do barbecue at the Haas Pavilion in the War Memorial Stadium at Cal.
Okay.
And we were building up this little barbecue brand. It was good food. And
what style of barbecue?
I called it, I'm unique. So I called it Urban Style Barbecue.
Okay.
It was, the name of the company was Bay Area Urban Style Barbecue. And our twist on it was I made everything, and it was just my style of barbecue. It was, I'm using cherry and mesquite for the pork, and changing up the types of wood and how long.
Depending on the meat.
Yeah. And, different techniques. So it was, I would always say it's somewhere between Memphis and the North Carolina style barbecue.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we made our own sauce, which is our barbecue bacon sauce.
Ooh.
So I made the bacon. I actually made the bacon that went into the sauce.
Okay.
And that was like the special thing about the barbecue sauce. Yeah.
I did eat before I came for this podcast, but that's making me hungry.
Yeah. So we got an opportunity to meet with the Giants concessionaires.
Oh.
It was 2 companies. It was 3 companies actually at one point, and we met with the big dog. And this guy is legendary, David Gray. And we go in, we have this meeting, seemingly a good meeting, and I'm like, great, I think we got it. And like he texts my business partner back. He's like, yeah, $10K. I'm like, great. Is that for like our stand? And he's like, no, $10K.
Like application?
Yeah. And I was like, why are we paying $10K? And so it was.
And that's probably not a guarantee.
No, it was a guarantee.
Oh, it was. Okay.
It was. They called it a marketing fee.
Okay.
And little did I know, in the concession game at that point, that's a key fee. That's a fee to get into the game. And me not knowing better, I'm like, bump that. I'm not paying $10K for shit. So I called the guy back. I was like, this is bullshit. I'm not paying this $10K, blah, 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 blah. He's like, you sure? Like, we're going to get the opportunity to someone else if you don't. I'm like, nah, I'm not doing that. This is 2001. No, this is not 2001. This is 2010.
Okay. Oh.
So I'm like high on my horse. I haven't felt in anything yet. I'm like, nah, we're not doing that. And then, turn around. And as the season's going on, I'm like lamenting the opportunity that I squandered. And I just remember sitting in the living room with the kids, and we're watching the World Series. And I just looked at my business. He's there. And I'm looking at my business partner. I was like, fuck.
Yeah.
I fucked that.
But you didn't know.
You didn't know.
No one knew that was going to happen that year.
But that could have, changed the trajectory of my career. But, every opportunity, and this is like the part of being an entrepreneur, every opportunity has a good and a bad. And the great part is you don't know.
Right.
So it's always a little bit of risk. But a part of being a good entrepreneur these days, how do I evaluate that opportunity? In hindsight, being 2020, we should have took a loan out for $10K to pay that fee. But knowing that now, when we go talk to concessionaires for opportunity, well, we know now. We know now how to better evaluate the opportunity.
That was Dontaye Ball. Until the Gumbo Social spot on 3rd Street opens, you can find them at Sunset Mercantile every Sunday morning. And check back here for part 2 with Dontaye, which drops next Tuesday. We hope you can join us for that. Special thanks on this episode to sound designer Kayla Anchell. Music for Storied San Francisco was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Michelle Kilfeather does original photography for us. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 5th season, we have more than 200 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're able to, please rate and review the show. And drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, weird, and healthy. And we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcast.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.